A pleasant afternoon to our valued customers and partners. Welcome to another edition of Power Up Live. I am Shano Caldo, Food and Beverage Industry Lead from Enterprise Industrial.
Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. I'm Christine Lopez, Relationship Manager for Real Estate Industry under Enterprise Commercial. Shano and I will be hosting this afternoon's webinar, aptly titled Interruptible Load Program, Gearing Up for the Summer Months.
Considering the increase in power demand during the forthcoming summer months, ILP is certainly a timely option for distribution utilities such as Meralco.
I agree with you, Shans. This was actually discussed in the webinar that the Meralco Enterprise and the National Government segment conducted last November. But today, we are again very fortunate to have our most distinguished guest who will be sharing with us vital information on the ILP program, its guidelines and benefits.
That's right. So let's jump into the conversation. To give us his welcome remarks, please welcome our head of the Enterprise Industrial Team, Engineer Victor Risma Deport.
Hello, good afternoon, and a pleasant day to all of you, our partners and fellow stakeholders in nation building. I hope that you and your businesses are now on the way to full recovery this year. From Meralco's end, we've seen our overall sales in 2022 grow to exceed our 2019 or the pre-pandemic level. Thus, we can say that we are seeing the start of recovery in 2022 and potentially greater growth this 2023. I believe we now have more than 400 attendees. Thank you everyone for joining us today at our Power Up Live webinar, wherein we will share with you our country's power supply situation and outlook, and how this will impact our business operations and ways of working together. These summer months will definitely be warmer than usual, and we can only expect more energy usage in our businesses and most likely in our own homes. As some are still working from home or have started home businesses. And these are all the more reasons we felt it necessary to provide you with an update on the power supply status. In the spirit of bayanihan, we wish to provide an update on the power supply situation and how we can anticipate and mitigate any challenges that this may bring. We want to avoid potential power supply challenges becoming another burden on all of us in this time of economic recovery. In support of DOE's trust to mitigate the energy supply deficiency in the country, as your distribution utility, we at Meralco are doing a round of fora to encourage the cooperation of customers by either participating in the Interruptible Load Program or participating in various energy saving or energy conservation programs. Our speakers and panelists have been well selected to really help you understand and manage the situation so that we can prevent brownouts and for all to exercise prudence in the use of electricity. The supply deficiency is, of course, caused by either breakdown or shutdown of the country's power plants, maintenance schedules, and many others. In May 31, 2021, we had a red alert situation that resulted in rotating brownouts or manual load dropping. Although ILP participants were able to contribute to preventing the shortage, their capacity back then was not enough to avoid rotating brownouts. As a result, many of our residential and small business customers who have no gensets were interrupted and had no power. Unlike big companies like you, they don't have emergency backup gensets to run on emergency situations. Imagine last year, those were the times of online schooling, online graduation, online activities. There were a lot of comments saying, online na nga lang graduation ng anak ko, hindi pa kami naka-attend, brownout kasi. Online na nga lang event namin, hindi pa natuloy. These are sad situations, but these are opportunities for all of us here to help as a way of bayanihan because big companies, malls, buildings, factories have their own gensets or have the capability of reducing their load. This will help us all avoid the manual load dropping or brownout situation, and so others like those small businesses and residential users can still continue with their day-to-day activities without any power interruptions. On your end, running your genset will definitely happen in case of manual load dropping, and there's no payment to you for doing so. So that if you did enroll in ILP, uh, joining in ILP is much better for you because you will be paid for running your gensets or deloading, and you will be able to run your genset and deload with proper and timely advice. So you won't experience sudden brownout. Similar to what happened in September 12, 2022, last year, where we experienced another red alert situation. 72 ILP enrolled customers participated, contributing to a load drop equivalent of 298 megawatts. And as such, no brownout was experienced that day. Our current capacity from all ILP enrollees is at 582 megawatts, and we aim to increase this capacity as a call to nation building. Kayang-kaya basta't sama-sama. Our relationship managers from the enterprise and national government teams of Meralco will be glad to assist you. With that, I turn you over to our host, and let's get started. Thank you, and God bless us all.
Thank you, Sir Vicoy.
Thank you so much, Sir Vicoy. It's certainly going to be another informative and insightful session this afternoon. So we enjoin everyone to please find a quiet and comfortable spot with stable internet connection. For better audio quality, wearing a headset or earphones is recommended so you don't miss out on any of the presentations and discussions that will be taking place today.
We would also like to remind a few reminders for everyone. First, please keep your mic on mute. Second, question may be posted on the chat box. Third, you may also join the Viber group for the enterprise and national government accounts. Make sure to scan the QR code being flashed on the screen so you can get instant access to news and information from Meralco. Lastly, you can also reach us via email and through our hotline number.
Salamat, Shano, for these reminders. So before we introduce our keynote speaker, as in the past, we would like to conduct a quick online survey to find out what our clients expect to learn from today's webinar. May we now request everyone to please scan the QR code that we are now flashing on screen or click the Mentimeter link on our chat box so you can share with us what learnings you expect to take away from our speakers and panelists this afternoon.
Yes,
All
team.
right, Chance, let's see kung ano yung mga nasa isip ng ating audience. Okay, please keep them coming. All right. Where are the comments from our audience?
Let's see. But before that, I think we need to read the question. So the question is, what learnings do you expect to take away from our speakers and panelists this afternoon? Ayun. Keep on coming. I think supply margin during summer months, power outlook this year. Okay.
I think that will be covered this afternoon.
All about ILP. Yes. Advantages of ILP. business interest benefits of participating ILP. How do we benefit from participating in ILP? So, Tin, I think most of the comments naman will be covered in our presentation, right?
Correct, Shans. At least nakita natin na gising ang ating mga audience this
Yes.
afternoon kahit siesta time, di ba?
Mm.
All right, and with that, thank you so much for your active participation. And it's time now to introduce our guest speaker for today. Shans?
She has been with Meralco for 16 years and holds a master's degree in economics from the University of the Philippines School of Economics. As lead specialist, her team conducts policy research and advocacy on generation and transmission-related concerns in the power sector. In 2014, she became a member of Meralco's team that closely worked with the Department of Energy, the Energy Regulatory Commission, and other power sector stakeholders for the implementation of the Interruptible Load Program in Luzon.
Ladies and gentlemen, to tell us more about the Interruptible Load Program, or ILP, its guidelines and benefits, please give it up for Meralco's lead specialist for generation and transmission economics, Ms. Maria Leticia Sapina.
All right. Thank you for the introduction, Shano and Tin. Good afternoon, everyone. Today, I'll be discussing the implementation protocol for ILP to introduce the program to potential participants and also to refresh our existing participants on the process in preparation for the summer months. Next slide, please. Okay, so as you may know, ILP was promulgated by the ERC in 2010, and the guidelines were amended in 2013, 2015, and 2019 to widen the scope of the program, revise the compensation mechanism, and also enhance the protocols. So ILP was first implemented in Visayas and Mindanao, and in Luzon, the DOE directed Meralco in 2014 to implement the program in anticipation of a potential power supply shortage in the grid. Next slide, please. So what is ILP and how does it work? The process will be discussed in detail later, but as an overview, ILP is a voluntary demand-side management program that allows customers to collectively reduce electricity consumption from the grid when power interruptions are imminent. So the trigger for ILP is NGCP's Red Alert Notice. And when ILP is activated, customers with large loads are requested to deload, either by operating their gensets or shifting their business operations so that the available power supply can be consumed instead by households and other customers with smaller loads. Next slide, please. So to join the program, customers must sign the ILP agreement. For captive customers, this agreement is between the customer and the DU, while for contestable customers, it's a tripartite agreement among the DU, ARES or local res, and the contestable customer. So the ILP agreement terminates if a captive customer moves to the contestable market and becomes the customer of a res, and if a contestable customer switches from one res to another. So as of January 2023, the total capacity available for the loading in Meralco is around 561 megawatt, which is 32% lower than the enrolled capacity in 2015. There are around 327 megawatt of capacity from the contestable market that have yet to sign the tripartite agreement. So once they complete their enrollment, the total available capacity will exceed the 2015 levels. Next slide, please. So since we started implementation in 2014, ILP was activated 26 times, and because of the support of participants, the program has successfully spared as many as 1.8 million households from power interruptions. But participating in ILP will not just benefit households. With more signups, the frequency that an ILP participant gets called onto the load reduces, and with greater participation, the duration of the loading per participant reduces as well. So our strategy here in Meralco has always been to grow the capacity available for the loading and to continue to encourage active participation during activation. Before discussing the protocol, as an update, last January 9, the Department of Energy presented its latest Luzon power situation outlook for the year, which considers the approved and preventive maintenance schedule of power plants and entry of new generation capacity. So compared to the forecast presented in November 2022, the latest outlook no longer shows potential red alerts this year. However, the DOE still foresees possible occurrence of yellow alerts, most of which during the summer months, specifically the last week of April until the second week of June. Next slide, please. But even if the outlook only shows yellow alerts, we are still encouraging customers to join ILP and participate during activation, because red alerts may still occur, especially if grid conditions worsen, with sudden plant outages and transmission line trippings, which may isolate several power plants. So in the chart, you'll see that in the last 9 years, only 2 did not experience red alerts, and one of the 2 was the first pandemic-affected year, where there was a significant reduction in demand. Next slide, please. So now we move on to the protocols. As you may know, there are 5 steps to implementing ILP. The first is notification. Next slide, please. Meralco will directly notify ILP participants through their contact persons of grid conditions and possible ILP activation. Next slide, please. During enrollment, the participant is required to designate 3 contact persons with their contact information. So when NGCP is able to provide day-ahead notifications on yellow and red alert, participants through their contact persons will receive an advice from Meralco 5 p.m. of the prior day. Upon receipt of the advice, participants must immediately confirm with Meralco's customer care their ability to the load as committed and as scheduled. On the current day, if the grid is still on yellow or red alert, participants will receive again a notice in the morning and must immediately confirm with customer care their participation. And then if the red alert persists, Meralco will send a final confirmation 2 hours before the schedule. And again, participants must provide feedback to customer care on their ability to the load. Next slide, please. So just some reminders for this step. First, make sure to provide the correct landline number, mobile number, and email address of your contact persons. Second, depending on the level of reserves, the final confirmation notice may also be the first and only notice for the loading, especially if there's a large power plant that goes on forced outage. And finally, always confirm participation immediately to Meralco's customer care, as this will be the basis for compensation. We'd like to remind you that feedback to other Meralco personnel or the relationship managers will not be considered as official advice. So the second step is activation. During enrollment, participants choose between 2 the loading windows, which capture the Luzon grid's morning and afternoon peaks. A participant can also choose the flexible option. So under this option, the participant will be advised of possible deloading if red alert occurs either in the morning or in the afternoon. Next slide, please. So just some reminders on activation. First, if you will be using your gensets to deload, always ensure that you have ample fuel supply. Second, you should deload immediately once instructed by Meralco. Third, Depending on the level of deficiency and the time of red alert pronouncement by the NJCP, participants may be requested to extend the loading or to the load outside of their preferred schedules. Since the program is voluntary, participants will be required to confirm their ability to continue the loading during the extended schedule with customer care. Fourth, if you are unable to continue the loading during the prescribed loading hours, please contact Meralco's ILP hotline and immediately indicate the reason for inability to continue to the load and also the expected time when the issue will be resolved. And finally, switch back to normal operations after the prescribed loading schedule unless an extension has been issued by Meralco's customer care. So the third step is the determination of compensable kilowatt hours. So Meralco will read the consumption meters of participating accounts at the same time as the usual reading for billing and tag the hours of ILP activation. So the compensable kilowatt hour takes into account the participant's actual load profile on the day of activation in the chart that is the stripes area, the baseline consumption profile under the ILP agreement, the dark line graph, and 1 hour before and after the hours of red alert. So as allowed under the ERC's guidelines, participants that deloaded during ILP activation will be compensated 1 hour before and 1 hour after the hours of red alert to consider that it takes some time after the loading to achieve the committed capacity and to load back to normal. So in the chart, even if the red alert hours are from 2 to 4 p.m., the compensable kilowatt hour will be computed from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. The fourth step is billing. So Meralco will compute the loading compensation based on the ERC prescribed formula and send to the participant and or the rest for verification within 7 days from the regular reading date. Next slide, please. So as provided in the ERC's guidelines, participants are compensated for fuel and maintenance costs that may be incurred during activation. So in the ERC's formula, the participant is compensated for the incremental deloading rate, which is the fuel cost in excess of total electricity cost. The fuel cost is based on the latest available diesel pump prices in the city or municipality where the participant is located and is computed using the fuel consumption rate prescribed by the ERC. The deloading compensation also includes a maintenance cost, which is also computed using the rate per kilowatt hour prescribed by the ERC. And the final step is settlement. After verification, the signed conforme letter containing the computation of the loading compensation must be returned to Meralco within 8 days from receipt. Upon receipt, the signed conforme letter, Meralco will process payment within 30 days. To clarify though, the loading compensation is not netted out from the electric bill, but payment is made directly to the participant for captive customers or to the rest for contestable customers. So as we gear up for the summer months, we just have additional reminders on participation. As required under the ILP agreement, the loading capacity, preferred the loading windows, the baseline consumption load profile, and contact persons need to be finalized and, if necessary, updated. Next slide, please. There is also a need to finalize the tripartite agreement once it terminates due to switching. Okay. Next slide, please. So we hope you will sign up and finalize your ILP agreements and also participate during activations so that manual load droppings can be avoided during red alert. That's it for me. Thank you everyone for listening, and I'll see you later in the panel discussion.
Thank you very much, Ms. Letty. That gives us a clear understanding of how to participate in ILP, and those reminders really are helpful. It is very crucial for us to have more participants in the program to prevent power outages. Right, Shans?
That's right, team. In fact, last September 12, there was a red alert and yet there was no power outage at all. This was due to the active load dropping of our ILP customers. Around 298 megawatt was deloaded from the grid. Good thing that Meralco has a collective of 582 megawatt in total from all the current ILP enrollees.
Wow, that was a significant number, Shans, no? Kaya naman talaga nagpapasalamat tayo sa mga ILP enrollees and participants for really contributing to nation building, or what we call the bayanihan spirit. So for those of you who may want a copy of Ms. Letty's presentation, a recording of this webinar will be uploaded on the Meralco website. Once the link is available, it will be shared with all our registered attendees. Also, if you have any comments or questions about ILP and Ms. Letty's presentation, please go ahead and type them on our comments tab.
And speaking of questions, team, I believe we already have some comments and inquiries coming in through our chat box.
Yeah, tama siya, no? So let's get it on with the program at excited na tayong marinig ang ating mga panelists. So for this panel discussion, we will be enjoined by two of Meralco's ILP customers. For our first panelist today, he was appointed Vice President and Operations Chief Engineer of Ayala Land Inc. in 2019, concurrently serves as the Chief Operating Officer and Corporate Chief Engineer of Ayala Property Management Corporation, or APMC, and the President of Philippine Integrated Energy Solutions Inc., or PhilEnergy. He is also currently a professor of the Mechanical Engineering Department at the Mapua University, a position he has held since 1996. He is also the APMC's Corporate Safety Officer, Corporate Professional Mechanical Engineer, and Corporate Energy Manager. Let us all welcome the Chief Operating Officer and Corporate Chief Engineer of Ayala Property Management Corporation, Mr. Michael Magpusa.
Good afternoon, Tin. Thank you. And good afternoon, colleagues.
All right, Shans, for our second panelist.
Welcome, Mr. Magpusaw, and good afternoon.
Good
For our
afternoon.
second guest panelist, he is a graduate of SEP, or Stanford Executive Program from Stanford University, a graduate of Electronics and Computer Engineering from De La Salle University, and the founder of Dormitos Capsule Hotel. Let's all give a round of applause for the chairman of Walter Mart Shopping Center Management Inc., Mr. Abe Uy.
Hello, thank you, Shano and Christina. And hello everyone. Good afternoon. Happy to be here today.
And completing our panel of resource persons this afternoon, we would like to call back the lead specialist for generation and transmission economics of Meralco, our speaker, Ms. Letty Sapina.
Hi, everyone. Happy to be back.
All right. Sige, let's start. Take
Okay.
it away, Shano, for our first question.
Okay. For our first question to Ms. Letty, do we get a special discount in generation charges if we support ILP?
Okay. So thank you for the question. The payment for the loading compensation is not netted out from the electricity bill. It's paid directly to the participant. So there is no special discount on the generation charge.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Letty. This second question is for you again. So before we can switch to our gensets, we need 1 to 2 hours lead time before we can deload. Will we be compensated for the preparation time before we can switch to genset power?
Okay. So this has been raised by several participants in the past. So the ERC's guidelines allow the compensation for 1 hour before and 1 hour after red alert. To consider that it takes some time for a participant to reach the committed capacity and to load back to normal. So what will be compensated is 1 hour before and 1 hour after red alert.
Okay, thank you, Miss Letty. And related to that question, this question is addressed to Sir Abe and Sir Mike. What was the impact? Sorry. Uh, before how? Sorry. Did you prepare your operations when you deload during the red alert?
Okay, siguro I'll take first. It's like the usual genset with load testing that we perform, but the main advantage is that the Meralco power is still available in the substation. So when you turn on your generator and transfer the load during the regular power interruption, wala nang Meralco. So pag nag-fail yung genset mo, affected na yung operation. Samantalang if sa ILP setup, nandyan pa rin yung Meralco. So you can call Meralco or switch back just in case. So mas protected actually yung load natin. And most importantly, hindi mo bibiglain yung generator. You can do switching because 2 hours before the actual deloading, Meralco will call you now. Meralco will proactively call you. So yung pagpasok ng load, tsaka yung communication dun sa customer mo, whether merchant or tenant, you have enough time. So ganun kalaki ang advantage pag nasa ILP program ka.
Thank you, Sir
Thank you, Sir
Mike, for your sharing. How about Sir Abe?
For us, I think prior to the ILP, the effect was immediate brownout. So everybody in the whole community will have no power. And yes, the mall have genset, so we switched to genset power. I think this ILP program really proactively prevent inconvenience for the public. So we are very happy actually to participate, and I'm happy that this program was actually thought about by the whole team, from the government side to Meralco. I think this is one of the very good programs that were created. We are happy to be one of the first to actually join. As soon as we heard about this, I think it's really something that it's really good for the whole community, and it's even good for us because in case occasionally if there is a problem with any of our equipment, at least there's still power. Okay, but most of the time, I mean, we're able to maintain our system well.
All right, thank you, Sir Abe. Happy to hear that you are satisfied with joining an ILP. And of course, I agree with Sir Mike, no chance na kailangan talagang communication is the key. So sabi nga natin, from time to time, makipag-update tayo sa ating mga accounts, no? Kasi usually nag-iikutan din sa mga mga properties, no? So we have to be updated of the contacts din kasi talagang very vital yan, di ba, Chance?
Yes, agree.
All right, so moving on, for Sirs Abe and Mike again, what was the impact of participating in ILP on your productivity and operations?
Sa Ayala, sobrang laki nung capacity na in-enroll namin, 88 megawatt. That translate dun sa computation ni Meralco na we can at least happy to know na 352,000 household na may power pa rin every time we deload the 88 megawatt. So having said that, ang sinasabi namin dun sa yung participation sa ILP, it's basically a fundamental bayanihan. Kasi alam naman natin na the national grid matagal mag-prepare ng power plant eh. Hindi naman, again, siguro nung panahon ni President yung may major power interruption, President Ramos, naglalagay tayo ng generator. But that's the most inefficient power plant. 35% lang ang efficiency nun. So sayang yung malaking portion na natin. Pero yung mga traditional power plant, mga 5 years bago ma-start up. So while they are preparing the grid for a more reliable supply, at least tayo sa load side, malaki ang naitutulong natin in the spirit of bayanihan. Yun lang yung pinaka-importanting aspect kung bakit, again, si Ayala or the Ayala Group really aggressively participate dito sa ILP program na to. So helping the community. Yun yung pinaka-importanting portion while you are doing business.
Thank you, Sir Mike.
Mike.
So my answer will be similar. So my answer will be similar to Engineer Michael. No, so a while ago somebody mentioned about during a online graduation the power goes out and a lot of people get affected, and there are ways to prevent this from happening. And I'm glad that again this is a program that is good for us and good for everyone else. And and we feel good that also by starting our genset, we're also helping others prevent inconvenience on their part. So we're very happy. Again, this is a program that we have our genset, and we're happy to participate ILP, because rather than just getting a surprise power outage, we rather have a controlled power outage, meaning to say we get advanced warning rather than just a surprise that the grid is down and affecting a lot of the community members from having a normal affecting their normal lives. So we're very happy with this ILP program.
Thank you, Sir Abe and Sir Mike. In bayanihan and helping others, and also di ba? They minimize yung surprise outages, and if they run their genset, they can help others pa, di ba? By sparing them for a rotational brownout. Very good impact talaga, no?
Tama, Shans, kasi not all can afford yung mag-capitalize on gensets, di ba? Kaya for this mga ILP participants, we are really grateful for you have been an instrument in mitigating the power supply deficiency.
Agree. So for our next question, this is for Miss Letty. Is it possible that the ILP is extended beyond the hours originally declared? If yes, are we still required to continue using our genset?
Okay. So yes, it's possible. It depends on the level of grid efficiency and the actual deloading of ILP participants. So since the program is voluntary, participants will still be asked to confirm their ability to continue deloading during the extended period. But we just like to also remind everyone that if the level of the deficiency in the grid is large and konti lang yung nagde-load, then this increases the risk of power interruption, not only for households but also for all the customers. So that's why it's very important yung na-mention ni Sir Abe and ni Sir Mike, that the spirit of ILP is really anchored on bayanihan. We all have to help each other to make the program successful.
All right, thank you, Ms. Letty. So this question is for Sirs Abe and Mike. Will you continue to participate in the ILP?
Absolutely, yes. Absolutely.
Wow.
Thank you, sir.
Definitely. Dito sa, again, as present namin sa management committee namin, 31 properties more ang we will process with TIN that will translate to another 56 megawatt that we can enroll. So all in all, pag na-process na namin ni TIN yun, 144 megawatt na ang capacity na pwede naming i-share dito sa program na to.
Wow, that's good news, Sir Mike. Sige po, we will align kaagad with your team para dun sa mga additional enrollees natin. Thank you so much.
Happy to hear that. Oo. So, for our next question, to Miss Letty again, from Arnold Rivera. We signed up before in ILP. Since we already shifted to RES, or Retail Electricity Supplier, thus this means that we need to sign new ILP agreement. To whom shall we coordinate this? Meralco or with our RES?
Yes. Thank you, Sir Arnold, for that question. It will clarify also the process for other customers in your similar situation. So yes, once you switch from the captive to the contestable market, or from one RES to another, the ILP agreement terminates. So you have to sign again a new agreement. And so Meralco, in coordination with the RES, will work with you through your relationship manager to finalize or to start working on the new ILP tripartite agreement.
All right, thank you, Ms. Letty. I'll get in touch with you, Arno. Thank you for that question. Ayan, sige, let's work with your RES for your contestable accounts. So to Ms. Letty, again, are there any specific types of industries that are encouraged to join the ILP?
Okay. So the program is open to all types of industries. So whatever category you may be in. But since the objective of ILP is to immediately ration the limited power supply, the target for the program is customers with large loads. So yung malalaki po na customers.
So, we hear that any industry pwede mapa-commercial or mapa-industrial. Though there were some inputs or kumbaga comment before from our customers na most of the industrial customers have a challenging operational process wherein yun nga, immediate interruption or deloading is very challenging for them. But I think we have or lined up industrial customers na talagang magjo-join nung ILP since they've already, kumbaga, studied paano nila magagawa ng paraan maka-shift from their operation going to deloading and going to operate their genset. So siguro for the industrial customers participating this ILP, we recommend to reach out to your relationship managers so they could share the success story or kung ano yung program or ano yung in-implement ng other industrial customers para makaparticipate sa ILP. Ayun. So for our next question, to Ms. Letty, once we participate in ILP, will GMBD charging be suspended temporarily?
Okay. So the regular bill will continue to be computed using billing determinants as registered in the meter to consider GMBD. So tuloy pa rin po yung computation of the regular bill based on the billing determinants in the meter.
All right, thank you for that clarification, Ms. Letty. So this next question is for Sir Abe and Sir Mike. How do you think the ILP contributes to nation building?
I think again, prior to the ILP, we had a lot of power failure and brownouts, and this really caused a lot of effect on people that don't have their own genset. Okay, so like small shops will not be able to operate properly. Customers will not go in because they won't have the proper aircon or ventilation, or even the capacity to, if they're in the business of food, to cook. It will be they'll be limited to cook. If they're in a small scale factory, they won't have the power to run their equipment. So it really affects the companies that don't have the capacity to buy to have the backup power. So for us, I think for us that Baltimore have so for us we have the capacity, we have the backup generation system. So we're very happy to use this, and in return, I think the whole community will also benefit from this. So we really rather have a no brownout, no power outage versus having power outage in our community. Thank you.
Rating siguro sa amin na tinitingnan namin yung ILP. Number one is actually yung living experience nung kapwa natin, no? And at the same time, yung livelihood, kasi maraming work from home na eh. 'Di ba? Marami ng so tatamaan yun every time na meron tayong power interruption. Sa engineering side naman, doon mo matitest yung genset reliability mo. Kasi kung hindi mo rin tinitest yung genset mo, you spend so much capex. Pero kung kailangan mo pala siya, hindi pala siya tatakbo. And lastly, you test your genset, you were able to participate sa countrywide bayanihan, pero may compensation na bumabalik sa'yo. Kasi binabayaran ng ILP. So it's basically a win-win program to everyone. So kaya kaya similar to what Abe is mentioning to us, napakagandang program ng ILP on our perspective.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Sir Mike, Sir Abe. Win-win situation it is. Diba? So for our next question from Philip Carpio, is this applicable also to CC with active contract with a rest?
Okay.
To Miss Letty.
Yes. So the question, thank you for the question, Sir Philip. So the question is if you can still join ILP, even if you have an existing contract with your res. So if I got the question correctly, so yes, tama po, you can still join ILP. So it's open to customers with existing contracts with their res. You just need to closely coordinate with your res to incorporate yung nasa provisions po ng contract ninyo with them in the ILP tripartite agreement.
All right, thank you, Ms. Letty. The next question is from Ms. Giraline Rabello. Would there be a possibility that this will later on be a mandatory requirement of TRC? This question is for Ms. Letty.
We hope it doesn't reach that point. No? So the ILP has been implemented since 2010, and it has, even at its voluntary stage, it has been successful in bridging the supply gap in the Visayas and Mindanao grids. So in Luzon, we've also observed that since implementation in 2014, the program has been successful in sparing as many households as it can, given the enrolled committed capacity. So with customers that believe in the objectives and benefits of the program, I believe there's no need to make ILP mandatory, and the regulators also see that.
Ayun, thank you. Still voluntary. Okay, our next question is to Miss Letty again from Cyril Buentipo. We already signed the ILP way back before 2015. Should we need to renew the agreement?
So if you have, thank you for the question po. If you have not switched to the contestable market from the captive market or from one rest to another, then the ILP agreement is still in effect. However, you may also want to revisit the baseline consumption load profile if it has not been updated, or you may also want to revisit yung preferred loading windows or to update your contact persons. So those portions of the ILP agreement may be updated or revised as needed po.
All right, thank you, Ms. Letty. The next question is from Mr. Jamuel Gallego. Would you kindly enlighten us on how the ILP process will be implemented for corporations that are being served by RIS? Ms. Letty.
Thank you for the question, sir. So the implementation process for captive and contestable customers are basically the same. No? It still follows the 5 steps for implementing ILP. There are just some additional steps under certain steps where we need to account for the interaction or the involvement of the rest. So, aside from yung pag-confirm po ng compensable kilowatt hour, so that needs to be coordinated with the between the rest, the Meralco, and also the customer. There's also a need to coordinate between the customer, Meralco, the rest, and also the rest Genco to account for the ILP activation in the impact of ILP activation in the WESM transactions of contestable customers. So those are the two main differences in the steps for implementing ILP for contestable customers. And also, in terms of payment, so the for captive customers, the payment is made directly to the participant. But if you're a contestable customer, the payment is made to the rest, and then the settlement for the deloading compensation will be between you, the customer, and the rest, depending on the agreement between them. So, bali three pala yung difference in implementation.
Thank you, Miss Letty. Right, Teen, I think we have an active participants now. They're throwing or they're chatting most of their questions on our chat box. So,
Correct, Chance. Ano to, happy session since marami
yes.
malabas na interested sa ILP, di ba?
Agree. So our next question is from our participant again. I think this was somehow answered to our previous question, but Miss Letty, I think you may elaborate this. From Nesty Colot, makakapili po ba ang customer ng oras?
Thank you po for the question. So if you mean po for yung preferred deloading schedule, yes, so currently we have 3 options for the customers to choose from. Pwedeng sa morning, yung morning window, yung afternoon window, or pwede rin po yung parang flexible, either in the morning or in the afternoon. But in terms of actual deloading, it will depend on kung ano yung oras na nandun sa red alert notice ni NGCP. So, in terms of the actual time for the loading, it will still depend on yung sa NGCP notice.
All right, thank you, Ms. Letty. This question is actually for you again. Pahinga muna sina Sir Mike and Sir Eve. Ayan, so from Ms. Lar Rochain Arlante, would it be compensable if we cannot deload 100% on rated capacity? For example, we just run genset on auxiliary equipment, then critical equipment runs on Meralco.
So thank you for the question, ma'am. So since the program is voluntary, there's also no penalty if you're unable to deload as what you committed in the contract. For whatever reason. So if there's an emergency that happened on your side, or if you have at the instance of the activation, you have an ongoing event in your business. So there's no penalty if you are unable to deload. But for the program in general, we want to remind all our participants that if there is fewer deloading, the risk of having more power interruptions increases. So that's why we also try to encourage everyone to participate actively when they are able during ILP activation.
Thank you, Miss Letty. Uh, our next question is from Nesty Colot again. I think he is from an industrial company. So his question is to Miss Letty. If Meralco advises us to deload, however, di pa po pwede due to production requirement, then we'll say after 5 hours pa kami pwede mag-deload. May specific time lang po ba na pwede kaming mag-deload with compensation?
Thank you for the question, sir. On what will be on the deloaded capacity, the deloaded kilowatt hour that will be compensated, as allowed under the ERC's guidelines, it will only be the 1 hour before and 1 hour after red alert. So yun lang po yung window where the compensable kilowatt hour will be computed. So we understand that for some customers, they cannot interrupt an ongoing shift. So they may not be able to participate during the ILP activation, especially if it's an parang emergency declaration of ILP. So we've from the part of Meralco, we have raised this to the DOE if they can help us request NGCP to provide longer lead time to avoid the parang emergency declaration of ILP, which may allow industrial customers to participate in the ILP, especially if they have been given the longer lead time, where they can arrange their shifts to participate in the program. So this has been, so the DOE has been coordinating already with NGCP on this, on how they can provide more advanced notice on the power supply situation or the grid conditions for the following days.
All right,
Yes.
thank you. Thank you, Ms. Letty, for that good news. Sana magawa ng paraan ng ating mga government agencies para naman ang mga customers natin or the ILP participants can really plan ahead.
Agree. Kasi I think speaking on behalf of our industrial customers, most of them are requesting yung day ahead para at least ma-plan nila kung ano yung magiging production. Right? Dun sa questions, talagang minsan may hinahabol silang numbers of production or products na produce within the day. So if it would be notified day ahead, it would be a great help for them. Diba? Ayun. So going to our next question. This is from Janeline Marasigan. Will the ILP participant be penalized if they did not comply with the committed load drop? To Miss Letty.
Yes. So since the thank you for the question, ma'am. So since the program is voluntary, there will be no penalties if you are unable to reach your committed deloading capacity during activation. But yun nga po, as mentioned earlier, we try to encourage all our participants to participate actively if they can during activation, so that we can avoid manual load dropping just in case lumaki yung deficiency sa grid.
All right, thank you, Ms. Letty. And for the next question, this is from Mr. Edsel John Andaya. Is ILP just offsetting the electric consumption to fuel consumption? Ms. Letty.
Okay. So if I understood the question correctly, this is on the compensation. If ILP will be offsetting the fuel cost with the electricity cost. So if it's in terms of the computation of the formula, what will be paid is the difference between, based on the ERC's prescribed formula, yung difference po nung fuel cost, which is computed using yung diesel prices in your area, and yung total electricity cost, which is the electricity rate in your bill. And then plus the participant is allowed to recover maintenance cost. But if the question po is on the manner of payment, yung payment po is not netted out from the electric bill. It's paid directly to the participant. So whether through online fund transfer or to check, so the ILP transaction is separate from the electric bill.
All right, thank you, Ms. Letty. Okay, so moving forward, Chance, kindly read the next question.
Okay. From Miss Maurice Umali, it was mentioned that we would still experience yellow alert this summer. What does this mean to ordinary Filipinos? How exactly will this impact Meralco users? And can anyone just avail of the IL to Miss Letty?
Oh, thank you for the question, ma'am. So based on VDOE's outlook, they still foresee yellow alerts for this year, especially during the summer months. So unlike red alert where power interruptions are imminent, when we say for yellow alerts, there's no power interruption, but it's an indication that there is tight supply already in the market. So parang konti na lang po or masyadong manipis yung difference between supply and demand, such that pag may trip pa na power plant, pwedeng worsen yung grid condition to red alert. So for the participation to ILP, so as we mentioned earlier, it's open to any type of industry. But since the objective of ILP is to immediately address the shortage in the system by rationing yung limited power supply, we target customers with large loads. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much, Ms. Letty. And I think for the last question addressed to Ms. Letty, from Ms. Melanie Valencia, is there a standard minimum wattage that needs to be deloaded before a certain industry can become a member of ILP?
Okay, thank you for the question, ma'am. In terms on the specific level of capacity, so this may need to be finalized with your relationship manager if they can to assess how much you can actually deload during ILP. But there is no the ERC's guidelines does not include parang a minimum megawatt for joining the program. It's just that for effectiveness, we target customers with large loads para mabilis po yung pag-implement ng ILP, and ILP can immediately address the power shortage in the system.
Thank you, Miss Letty. Siguro, Tin, before we end our Q&A, may pahabol pa tayo to Sir Abe and Sir Mike. So the question is, how is ILP instrumental in mitigating power supply issues, especially for this year? How is your partnership with Meralco in terms of being an active ILP participant?
Okay. Very proactive naman ever since amin si Meralco. I think in terms of relationship manager, naka-experience na kami ng 4 na henerasyon. So, pang-4 na si Tin, and very proactive naman. Number 2, ay yung ILP is really bayanihan but also a good business decision. A good business decision because number 1, priority load ka eh. When you say priority load, you can say no or yes. During the ILP, sabi nga ni Letty, ano siya eh, voluntary.
Voluntary.
Say for example, yung isang building namin, merong stock exchange, so may trading. So we can say no and may power ka. So priority load ka, hindi ka basta-basta ima-manual drop. So next is that walang surprises kasi mas delikado yung generator to run or to transfer pag may surprises eh. Mas maganda yung andyan yung power ng Meralco, you transfer yung load dahan-dahan, then pag stable na, maiki-carry mo na yung buong capacity. So in terms of nation building, yung tinatanong mo siya, no, it's really helping our kababayan. Kasi as we mentioned, marami ng work from home eh. Hindi na lang living experience yung pinag-uusapan natin every time na may power interruption doon sa household. Pati yung livelihood nila tatamaan na rin. And again, on the engineering side, it will ensure yung reliability ng system mo kasi hindi pwedeng parang kotse. Meron kang daily car, meron kang Sunday car. Ibig sabihin hindi ka pwede kasi bumili ng machine na hindi mo tatakbo. Mas masisira 'yon, mas magkakaproblema ka. So, that's the reason why to us yung ILP is not just bayanihan but also a good business decision. Again, that's based on our experience.
Yeah, I think we noticed that when the ILP started, of course, the brownout have significantly lowered, no? And even our equipment actually is running better because whenever there's a brownout and power comes in, there's sometimes you have surges and it actually damage a lot of equipment. So I think that's one of the major benefits of having this program. And also we notice also that basically even though we have the ILP program, Meralco seems to be able to control it better because now that you have the awareness, everything's being managed I think better rather than before. All of a sudden everything just shuts off and then we have to turn on our system and then for our homes sometimes the power comes back and the surge of power really damaged a lot of equipment. So it's I think it really helps not only the big companies but yeah really everyone that's getting served by Meralco also benefit by not having to worry about the surges, less worried about the surges, and at the same time less inconvenient also. So it's a program that when we heard about it, it's something that we fully support. It's I think a good program for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Sir Mike.
Steve and Sir
Sir
Mike.
Abe.
Nakakatuwang pakinggan, no, Shans?
Yes,
From the
agree.
biggest conglomerates in our country, puro positive points yung naririnig natin sa kanila.
Not only bayanihan but also on their benefit. Kumbaga parang sinasabi nga nila their machines are running better now kasi nga kumbaga na-exercise yung mga gensets nila, 'di ba?
Exactly. System reliability nga. And sabi nga ni Sir Mike, sound decision yung mag-participate talaga sa ILP. Alright, so I think, Shans, before we get the final word from our panelists, we would like to do a series of questions. Ala fast talk style lang of Mr. Boy Abunda para naman medyo mag-cool down tayo coming from a number of questions from our active audience.
So basically parang the first question will be answered by Miss Letty, then the second will be answered by Sir Abe, and third is Sir Mike, and so on. So tuloy-tuloy lang, right? Okay.
All right, Shants. Sorry, can we start? So here we go with our Power Up Fast Talk ILP edition. For Miss Letty, energy efficiency or energy conservation?
Energy conservation, because ILP is aligned with its principles.
Sir Abe, turn on your genset or reduce load.
Turn on our genset to prevent power outages for the community.
Sir Mike, is it ILY or ILP?
ILP.
Miss Letty, voluntary ILP or mandatory ILP?
Voluntary.
Or Sir Abe, describe the ILP in one word.
One of the best programs thought of from the power sector.
Sir Mike, being a superhero or participating in ILP?
Bayanihan in ILP.
Miss Letty, profitability or sustainability?
Sustainability.
Sir Mike, on a scale of 1 to 10, how convenient was it for you to join or implement ILP?
11. Because we can prepare.
Nice. Okay, and last for Sir Abe, answerable by yes or no, is ILP beneficial for your enterprise or company?
Yes, very much so. Yeah.
Okay. I hope you had fun with our fast talk. But before we formally conclude our panel discussion, may we ask for parting messages from our panelists? So let's start with Sir Abe Uy.
Okay. So I think the ILP really helps not only us but also the whole community. Okay, so this is something that I think if everyone participate, we will not have any inconvenience for the community, and sometimes even ourselves. Maybe one day we also need the power to be on, no, if we have some problems with our own equipment. But definitely a program that I think people should be participating in.
Thank you so much, Sir Abe. Maybe now call Mr. Mike.
We already mentioned all the advantages. What we can really mention right now is join us. Let us help everyone while the national government are actually building capacity of our country's power supply.
Thank you, Sir Mike. And finally, Miss Letty.
Okay. I think what we've heard today is that ILP does not only benefit households and the grid. No, there's benefit in joining ILP even for the participants. So we hope you will finalize your ILP agreements and also actively participate during activation. And if you have further questions, your relationship managers would be happy to answer them.
That's correct, Ms. Letty. We have the dedicated relationship management team for enterprise customers. And of course, we're always here to serve our customers' power needs.
That was certain a very informative discussion. We hope that this exchange was able to enlighten us all about the essence of enrolling and participating in ILP.
Thank you very much to our esteemed panelists, starting with our resource person from Meralco, Ms. Letty Sapina.
And thank you also to our Meralco customers from Ayala Property Management Corporation and Walter Mart. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. We value your opinion and would love to find out your thoughts and suggestions about this afternoon's webinar. So please scan the QR code or click the link posted on the chat box to answer the post-event survey.
Yeah, this series of webinars serve as a platform for us to provide our customers and national government with end-to-end energy efficiency ideas and power quality solutions.
That's right, Tin. And I understand that the next Power Up Live session will cover the theme 2023 Power Outlook, Securing Energy Reserves with the EENC Law Republic Act 11285. Do watch out for this special edition, which is scheduled on March 24, 2023. So mark your calendars as early as now. You may also register to the webinar by clicking the link on the chat box.
Lastly, we are again showing on screen the QR code for you to join the Viber group for enterprise and national government accounts. Make sure to scan it so you can get instant access to news and information from Meralco.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, our Power Up Live session has come to an end. It has certainly been a pleasure hosting this event for you this afternoon. We hope to see you again on our next webinar scheduled on March 24. I'm Shano Caldo.
And I'm Christine Lopez. Thank you all for joining us this afternoon. Through this Power Up Live sessions, we hope to continue to walk our clients into the future of energy and towards a sustainable future. A pleasant day to everyone.